became separated from depraved in nature, ignorant and blind, evil, unconscious, corrupt, and deceitful in his heart. Y'all gonna help me? That moment, the divine image became defaced, passion became confused, abused, and misused. At that moment, power became weakness. At that moment, personality that once mirrored the mind of God became warped and twisted and misshapen. Amen. At that moment, the tie had been broken between the Creator and the creation. At that moment, man traded in a life he couldn't lose for a life he couldn't keep. At that moment, man allowed himself to be chained and shackled by the bond of sin. At that moment, decay set in and laid hold on us. It was a great fault. That's it. But the lingering question is, how do we put this man back together? I see that. Amen. How do we get him straightened out? How do we? Y'all ain't gonna help me. Somebody ought to understand. How do we get man back together? Amen. In the nursery rhyme, you remember the nursery rhyme. It says, we are like to assume that efforts were made. To put Humpty Dumpty together. Again, the nursery rhyme said all the king's horse, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. An effort was made to rebuild Humpty Dumpty. In like fashion, there has been attempts and efforts to put man back on the wall. Well, I believe somebody said, why don't we resort to the king's horse? Let's say that. He tried to ride the horse of education. And we used to believe that if you enlighten a man's mind, you simultaneously enlighten his heart. We believe, like Socrates, that evil enlightening, evil and wrongdoing were based on ignorance. Amen. That men fought wars because they didn't know any better. We believe that racial prejudice were based on the lack of knowledge, and that men exploited men because they needed to be enlightened. But time, however, has revealed that we have no guarantee that when we train a man's mind, that we will train his heart. Y'all ain't saying that. There is no guarantee that when we increase man's knowledge, we also increases his goodness. There is no necessary correlation between knowledge and goodness. No amount of knowledge will make a man good. You ain't gonna help me. I don't care how good you think you are. Just because you know a little something don't make you good. You see, the reason I know that is because man can see good and he'll deliberately choose evil. He can see the light and he'll walk in darkness. He can see the high road beckoning him and he'll deliberately choose the low road. He has tried education, but the verdict is he has received much education, but very little consecration. We have men who have a head full of sense, but a heart full of sin. Y'all ain't gonna help me with that. He messed up. Therefore, the horse of education will win.
That's it. That's it.
Force of education wouldn't do it. Y'all ain't gonna help me. They even tried to ride the horse of science.
Yeah.
And the horse of science have been tried. And what about science? Can science provide us with infallible proof that man can be placed back on the wall? No intelligent person can fail to be impressed with the staggering achievements of science. Science have brought about a lot of things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But science couldn't put man
Don't you see?
back on the wall. We have exhausted every fiber of strength with our horses, but still man is not together. Then somebody said, well, come on, let's try the king's men. The king's men, they have ingenuity and skill. Well, they have made a violent struggle in the dark. They have built more hospitals, more prisons, more schools, more churches. They have searched for a bit of beauty to camouflage the harsh ugliness of life. They have created attractive cemeteries to hide the reality of death.
All right.
Amen. They made power and knowledge to put man back on the wall. But the fact is, though man lives in centrally heated apartments, he rides in chauffeur-driven, high-powered cars, possessing both Genesis and ingenuity. Man has no joy. He has pleasure, but no joy. You can hardly see a flashing eye and an uplifted face anymore. Man can't live in poverty and he can't live in abundance. But you see, men who live in poverty kill each other, while those in abundance kill themselves. Because there is a lack of meaning and purpose. Man turns to all kinds of wretched substitutes. These men wants to help, but they can't because they have fallen so far from the divine end that it's often difficult to be human. So the king's men, feeble efforts through humanitarian activities still leaves us helpless.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Broke and torn. A dismal picture, amen, has been painted. But the question still lingers. Is there any hope for this creature who is too grand to waste, too miserable to save, not fit to live, but not really ready to die, too dead to be alive, and too alive to be buried? He's in bad shape. Man is messed up. Y'all don't know it, but man is messed up.
You right?
You're right.
He's messed up.
That's right. You're right, brother. Amen. Hey, shit. Amen.
More clothes, man.
Preach it. Preach it.
So the country,
Teachers.
since the king's horses have failed,
All right.
since the king's men have failed, and since the king's men have faltered and fallen short, why not ask the king?
All right.
Let's petition him for help in our helplessness. Come on, go with me. I heard him say, "O king, since you are the creator of heaven and earth, king, since it was you who created the blazing sun and the smiling moon, king, since it was you who split the sea with the palm of your hand, king, since it was on the wall. And I hear King Jesus. I hear Jesus say, yes, I'll help. I see him as he turns to his Father. I hear him say, Father, I know that man is everything except what he was created to be. Father, I know he's handcuffed to misery and chained by sin. Father, I know man is not what he must be, could be, should be, need to be, and what you want him to